So President Biden held a press conference after the NATO summit, and it was very clear when it came question asking time whose side that the reporters were on, because every question that was asked to Joe Biden had to do with his mental state. Is he in decline? Is he going to drop out of the race? They framed that question every time someone gave them a microphone. They found a way to frame the same question over and over again. And what's so funny to me about all of this is how that Trump has always painted the image and the picture that the fake news media is out to get him and they're always out to say bad things about him. But here lately, it sure looks like they're right in his back pocket and they're going along with this. Let's crucify Joe Biden and hold him to account on every word and give Trump a pass for every misspeak that he says. So it's definitely pretty disheartening to watch the whole thing, but we're going to show you a couple of clips here from the press conference. And this one here, Joe Biden asked is, did you even see the summit? Did you not see what a success it was? Take a look.
You mixed up Presidents Zelensky and Putin earlier today. And you now have sort of your key allies, including the British Prime Minister, the President of France, and the German Chancellor having to step in and make excuses for you on that. Officials here are saying off the record that your decline has become noticeable. Hasn't this now, frankly, become damaging for America's standing in the world? Thank you.
Did you see any damage to our standing by leading this conference? Have you seen a more successful conference? What do you think? And the Putin piece, I was talking about Putin, and I said, and now, at the very end, I said, Putin. I said, oh, no, I'm sorry, Zelensky. And then I added 5 other names. Look, guys, the idea anybody suggests that we haven't had an incredibly successful conference. How many times did you hear in that conference, I know it sounds too self-serving, but other leaders, heads of state, in thanking me, saying the reason we're together is because of Biden, because Biden did the following. Look, folks, this is, well, anyway, I thought it was the most successful conference I've attended in a long time, and find me a world leader who didn't think it was.
So yeah, they didn't actually want to talk about the summit. What they wanted to talk about was Biden misspeaking and calling Zelensky Putin by mistake. We're talking about an 82-year-old man, and he's now under this microscope, and everyone is just sitting back waiting to pounce on it. I don't know about you guys, but I just kind of find the whole thing to be a little bit sick myself, that we're sitting back waiting for that to happen. When you watch the debate between Biden and Trump, you can see Trump perk up like, oh, I can run with this. He misspoke. And now they're sitting there watching every speech he makes, every move he makes, and the slightest misspeak is going to go viral. And meanwhile, Donald Trump can go out there and ramble on about a battery and a shark and lie his ass off, and the reporters never hold him to that account. When he became a convicted felon, I didn't hear them saying he should drop out of the race. I didn't hear them asking him if he was going to. They didn't ask him to when he was found liable of sexual abuse and guilty of fraud. They didn't ask him any of those questions. All they did was show us polls about how, look, he's surging. You better quit talking about him, Brando. You're just making him stronger. It's absolutely ridiculous. But I love that Biden holds them to account here and says, do you not realize that our democracy is under threat? Have you not read Project 2025? I'm glad Biden made this point.
Think our democracy is under siege based on this court? Do you think democracy is under siege based on Project 2025? Do you think he means what he says when he says he's going to do away with the civil service, eliminate the Department of Education, make sure, we've never been here before. And that's the other reason why you say, hand off to another generation. I've got to finish this job. Because there's so much at stake.
Folks, I am voting for Joe Biden come November. I don't care if he goes completely mute. I don't care if he has to write down what he's going to say on a piece of paper and hold it up. I will sit and read what he has to say off that piece of paper before I will ever entertain a word that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth. And to all the people who have framed Project 2025 and wants to implement that on day one, I will sit back and give Joe all the time he needs. He can call me Brian. He can call me Joe. He can call me Steve. I don't give a shit about any of that. I care about our democracy, and I will be voting for Joe Biden regardless because I see the threat that Donald Trump poses. But speaking of calling somebody Brian or Joe or Steve, Donald Trump misspeaks on a daily basis. I never hear the media talk about his cognitive decline. I never hear the media say that he should drop out. I never hear them sit there and hang on every word he's saying. But Midas Touch made this 3-minute reel of nothing but Trump gaffes. And I debated on whether or not to show you guys the entire thing. But since the mainstream media is probably never going to show it to you, you're never going to see it from them, let's take a look at it. This is one blooper after another from Donald Trump.
Take a cognitive test like I did. I took a cognitive test and I aced it. Dr. Ronnie Johnson. Does everyone know Ronnie Johnson, congressman from Texas? He was the White House doctor. How good did Elise Stepanek do? You know, we've endorsed Dr. Oz. We've endorsed JP, right? JD Mandel, and he's doing great. Jimmy Connors is good. He's also happy.
Mike Bolton, John Bolton is here. Mike Bolton, as you know, is in Russia.
And there was progress today. I look forward to solving it.
Thank you, Steve.
It was Trump's fault. It's always Trump's fault. Can it ever be like Rick Gates' fault? I mean, it's always Trump's fault, Rick.
By the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley, you know, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything? Deleted and destroyed all of it, because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people. We have some of our great business leaders and leaders, period, right behind me. I may ask Marilyn Lockheed. We appreciate it very much, Tim Apple. Yes, please, Mr. Kurd.
Thank you very much for your time.
You know what was interesting? Joe Biden won against Barack Hussein Obama. Has anyone ever heard of him?
Arrest their leading political opponent, and leading by a lot, including Obama. I'll tell you what, you take a look at Obama and take a look at some of the things that he's done.
And Putin, you know, has so little respect for Obama that he's starting to throw around the nuclear word today. You heard that, nuclear.
Thanks for giving your first comments on the bill on this show. It means a lot to us. We appreciate it, sir. Thanks a lot.
You have a deal. Thanks a lot. Bye. Joe Bright, this guy is just the worst.
So will Christian ever run for president against you? And you heard the prime minister, you heard Netanyahu.
Maybe have Matt Blum speak next, because he's been so incredible in so many ways. He fights so hard. He loves his state. He loves the people. Think of it, a new branch of the United States military, United States Armed Forces, called Air Force. I never talked about that. That's something we never talked about.
But what we just saw, we just left pleasure.
A very big hello to a place where we've done very well, Sioux Falls. Thank you very much, Sioux Falls. Thank you.
So, Sioux City, let me ask you, and the worst president in the history of our country who is cognitively impaired, we would be in World War II very quickly. The worst president in the history of our country will be a fading nightmare. He'll be I have fading memory.
So where are the reporters asking Trump if he's going to drop out after all that? Why hasn't anyone asked him about any of those gaffes? But forget about the gaffes for a minute, okay? Forget about the misspeaks of an 82-year-old and a 78-year-old. Take those off the table for a minute and focus on the policies at hand. Focus on Project 2025 and what will be implemented on day one. Look at the rights that would be stripped away from people. Look at the Handmaid's Tale version of America that we would be living in. It's got nothing to do with me about a person's misspeaks or their gaffes. It's about what could happen if Donald Trump is reelected. He is the front man for this radical fringe movement that is not popular, folks, because the minute Trump said the words, I don't know what Project 2025 is, the minute he said that out loud, well, people started Googling it. People wanted to see what it was, and it became the most searched Google search, more so than Taylor Swift of the NFL, so people are catching on. Project 2025 and MAGA is not the majority. They're really not. They are a fringe minority that is really, here I go misspeaking. You guys are going to quit subscribing to me, but here we go. They are a fringe minority that is very loud. They're very vocal, and the media is cashing in on this because they realize that it equals ratings. They have to know, just like Trump said, it's all about the ratings. They know that too, and they know it's so easy to to show Trump surging in the polls, that'll bring up the ratings. To show one little thing Trump said here and there, that'll bring up the ratings. Keep Trump in the game, and then sit back and pick apart Joe Biden, and that will keep bringing up the ratings. It's absolutely sickening that that's where we are, and we're not looking at the policies at hand, and we're not looking at the fact that Joe Biden has been an effective president. He has a diverse cabinet around him who has all worked hard for us. Meanwhile, you got Donald Trump and this radical fringe coming, and Donald Trump is just the front man for this. He's just the mouthpiece, folks. These people aren't going away. We can kick the can down the road. We can win in 2024. Doesn't mean that, we may not have Project 2025 in 2025, but we're going to have to deal with it because these people are going to continue to go to bat. And long after Trump's out of the political arena, they will find someone else to be that mouthpiece. Hopefully, reasonable Republicans will start stepping back forward. I would love to see reasonable Republicans step forward and actually start calling this stuff out. We saw a few, but I really think that more needs to come out. And I know this may be completely out of left field. People may be going, Brando, where are you going with this? But I was hearing James Carville talk about how that, I believe it was Carville, if I've got this wrong, forgive me. He was talking about how that George W. Bush should come out now and start talking on behalf of Biden. And I agree with that. If you're going to return the Republican Party to any ounce of common sense, the leaders have to step forward. And I never dreamed in a million years that I would be sitting here making a video saying that George W. Bush should be out there speaking against this radicalism, but he should be. And so should every ex-president, should be out there calling it out. Every Republican politician that believes in freedom and democracy and actually believes in limited government, folks, Project 2025 is the government on steroids. And so more people needs to be calling it out for what it is. And to sit back and pick Joe Biden apart for every little misspeak and then let Donald Trump get away with the lies, let Donald Trump get away with all the misspeaks and gaffes he does, and then not pay attention to the project that he's got coming in behind him that he wants to implement on day one. And he said, I'll terminate the Constitution whenever I see fit. Just let me be dictator for a day. Those are the things we should be talking about. And why are they crickets on Epstein? Why is no one talking about that? Why is that just something people like us are talking about and the mainstream media won't touch it? It's time that we all wake up and we unify on the side of democracy and we defeat this radical ideology, because if we don't, we're going to be in this for the long haul, folks.